Hello everyone, welcome to IS Baba. Today we are taking up the UPSC Mains 2023 GS2 paper discussion. In that we will study the polity part. So here, as and when the polity is concerned, so what all become important? So again, it is like the article numbers and the Supreme Court judgments and some of the courts and some of the reports or statistics. So these are something which you have to keep in mind, wherein all these are very must for value addition in all the cases. And second is hitting to the demand of the question. So we will see like how the demand of the question can be addressed, how the structure of your answers can be, and also how your value addition can be. So begin with the first one. Constitutionally guaranteed judicial independence is a prerequisite of democracy comment. So here the question says like the judicial independence, it should be constitutionally guaranteed. So to what extent? If a constitution guarantees the judicial independence, so that is something which is helpful for a democracy. Else, so democracy will not survive always. So it is like the judicial independence will be compromised. So we will see. So I have introduced with the quote already Krishna Swami Iyer. So one of the constituent assembly member. So he says Supreme Court of India has more powers than any Supreme Court in any part of the world. So that means like so we have set up a powerful Supreme Court which is autonomous and independent. So after introduction, we'll put the heading like current status. So to what extent do we have the judicial independence inside the constitution? So like so we have the power of contempt of the court, although it is not constitutional. So we have something. So again, it is not constitutional. That is the drawback. Then judicial independence. So some elements of independence is given in constitution like expenses of the Supreme Court, salaries, allowances and others are charged on the consolidated fund of India. So this is an element of independence, but the statement is very implicit. So it is not explicitly given. So it is very implicitly given in the constitution. So this is non-constitutional. So which is not there in the constitution. Contempt of court act gives that, and then it is like implicit. Then article 50 says so there should be a separation of judiciary from the executive, but this is a directive principle which cannot be legalized. So again there is a drawback here, and hence judicial independence is provided but not guaranteed in the constitution. So there is nothing guaranteed as such. Okay. And also article 124 of the constitution says judicial appointments to the Supreme Court should be made by the president in consultation with the chief justice of India. So like so as and when the president appoints, so again to somewhat extent like executive can always play its game. So here the word consultation concurrence we have seen in the judge's case how the game was played, and at the same time how executive has played its way, how Justice A.N. Ray superseded several other junior senior judges to become CJI. So many cases, many more cases. Then hence there is a need to guarantee it in the form of constitution. So here one paragraph we can also write like if it is not guaranteed in the constitution, so how always executive can overpower or it can interfere in the judiciary. So in terms of judicial appointments, we can say that delays in the appointments or say striking down the name of those judges who can probably not be in the good books of the government. So all those things can always happen. So hence it should be guaranteed in the constitution, and this provides supreme importance to judicial autonomy. So if something is written in the constitution, so always it should be revered, and that will be revered eventually. And Supreme Court can also call the judicial independence a basic structure, so which gives further more importance to the judicial independence. Again, by giving the constitutional status, all these advantages we have, and if it is written in the constitution, so executive or legislature cannot encroach them with the easy amendments because they require a constitutional amendment to encroach on the judicial independence. So all these advantages. Yes. So current status, and like if it is not guaranteed in the constitution, how executive or legislature can encroach on them? Small paragraph here, and then like what is the importance of getting the constitutional status, and conclusion way ahead. So like say the NJAC was an attempt to constitutionalize the judicial independence to somewhat, but there were some loopholes which Supreme Court didn't like. In NJAC, there were two people like the law minister and expert from the government of India. So that expert, so and the law minister, they were directly coming from the executive, which Supreme Court didn't like. So change them, so modify as per the Supreme Court's say opinion and evolve a consensus and make it a constitutionally guaranteed one. Judicial appointment should be constitutionally guaranteed, and if appointment is guaranteed, so then the rest can come eventually. So these are some of my points. You can also add some of yours because there is nothing best answer, but let the answer be overall on these lines. Yes, come to the next one. So, who are entitled to receive free legal aid and assess the role of the National Legal Service Authority (NALSA) in rendering free legal aid in India? So, like whenever friends, the assess or to what extent, how far, so all these questions have been coming in UPSC again and again. Here itself, we can see 3 to 4 questions, and there, when you read daily newspaper, so there will be so many negatives of any constitutional body or any act, because it is the bounden duty of media to point out the negativities, if not criticize the clauses or any act for that matter. But however, here it is like when you go through any negative points, it is also your duty to find out positives. So go through the PIB or any other government documents to show that how various say bodies have their own success stories. Yes. Then say introduced with the Legal Service Authority Act 1987 and Lok Adalats and the overall background, and then answer the first part of the question, that is persons eligible for the legal aid. So this is something from your memory, and at that point of time inside the exam hall, if you are not getting the full memory, so write whatever you know. You need not cover all the points, cover some of the points. So that is more than enough. So like women and children, member of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, then industrial women, then victims of mass disaster, violence, flood, drought, earthquake, and others, and so disabled persons, persons in custody, various judicial and other custodies, police custodies, and so those who have this much in comment below. And how far or the role of NALSA. So there is some success story. So that success story is as such. So NALSA or Lok Adalats, so they have settled more than 1 crore cases which were pending. So if not Lok Adalats, so these many people, these many victims would have kept on suffered. Then more than 5,000 crores of compensation is given to the victims. Friends, this is one of the major say achievements of most of grievance redressal bodies. So in newspaper or in any other book, you will be studying like say NHRC, NCSC. So there the convictions rates for the recommended cases are very less. So like 6% of cases recommended by NHRC is convicted. So it is a drawback. But the flip side is, although 6% conviction rate is there, but 99% compensation rate would be there. So like whether the courts can convict an accused or not, whether a court can punish an accused or not, but the court will readily give compensation to the victim, so that if we couldn't find out who is the convict, but the victim should not suffer. So our judiciary so goes with those lines, and that is why, like we can say, so whatever say whether India is going front or back, but we are following the situational ethics. In that situation, what is good? So what we could have done, so under all human capabilities that are being done. So here, make sure that 5,000 crores of compensation are given. Then spreading legal awareness like Lok Adalats in district legal service authority, taluks, villages are being held, and this is also acting as effective ADR mechanism, alternate dispute resolution. So else it is like most of the people they approach the courts, our farmers, they earn day in and day out. At the same time, spend it to either court, police station, lawyer, or they fight each other and they go to hospitals. They never think of say purchasing one fruit or anything for their family, for their wife, children, etc. But for police, court, so they have full amount. Then challenges to be met. So like so these are success stories, but what is going on actually, or the flip side. So lawyers and judges unwilling to take part in Lok Adalats because so here they are not getting good salaries, good payments. They have to depend only on the government salaries. So that is why they are not willing to. So low quality lawyers and judges will attend, and the government lawyers and judges, so they are mostly absent, and also the judges who attempt, so they are of say administrative capacity judges, like they are administrative officials, not judicial officials per se. Like for namesake, they will keep anyone, say civil servant, as the head of chairperson of Lok Adalat just because no one is there. So likewise, then hurried justice is buried justice. Say like some case is pending say for 2 to 3 years, these people they just take up the case and they try to decide it in 1 or 2 hours or maybe 5 to 10 minutes, even less than that many times. So how can you say when the courts themselves are struggling to give justice to them, and how can you decide it within 10 minutes? And most probably what would be the extent of complaints of that judgment which you give? So you will say like 500 de de, so compromise kar le, but so after moving out of the court, so those people they will break any compromise and move apart. Then awareness among the people, so like as people lack awareness about lok adalats etc., people prefer going to courts, they prefer say moving from pillar to post, but they never go to lok adalats. So likewise, and way ahead, so we have to improve this with the help of tele-law scheme. Like good lawyers with the help of technology, they can reach to the lower strata of society. E-courts, so rather than say mere ADR, so bring the courts itself to the lower ground, the grassroots roots and Gram Nyayalayas Act. So make sure every Gram Panchayat has the judiciary, that is Gram Nyayalayas Act. So if you follow this, we can upgrade, then also, or we can say that overall upgradation or strengthening of the grassroots justice delivery can be improved. Yes. Then come to next. Say the states in India seem reluctant to empower urban local bodies, both functionally as well as financially. So the functions and the funds. So these are being asked. So we have three F's as far as the devolution of powers to the local bodies are concerned. That is funds, functions, and functionaries. So remember, like fund is finance, functions. Functions means given an act, given a program. So what are the functions the various departments or levels of government should do? Say Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan has total 500 functions. Out of that, 200 functions should be done by central government, 200 from the state government, and 100 from the say local government. So these are functions. So then comes functionaries. So what are functionaries? Functionaries means the people who hold various posts. Yes, say functionaries in a local body. Say for example, Gram Panchayat CEO or the revenue officer or the Panchayat development officer. So these are the functionaries. Or Jilla Panchayat CEO. So IAS officers, they are being appointed as Jilla Panchayat CEOs. So all these functionaries. So why not dedicated functionary of a local government? Why an IAS officer who is a state government or central government officer should hold a position in say Jilla Panchayat? So likewise, functionaries means the positions they hold, funds means the funds, and functions means so what activities they can do. So here we will concentrate only on these two. We will not concentrate on functionaries. Introduction. Indian Institute of Public Administration comes with decentralization index. So in that I have picked up the data. So as far as the IAPS decentralization index, we have only 34% of functions being devolved to the local bodies from the state governments, and funds only 29% and functionaries 49%. So to some extent functionaries have been devolved, but the functions and the funds, so they yet to be devolved. Then coming to a body like finances. So why we are reluctant or how we are reluctant? Say very less number of 12 scheduled subjects devolved to the urban local bodies. Yes, and these whatever being devolved, so they don't yield good amount of money. So what is being devolved, like the utility charges, stamp duties, or say fees or fines, parking charges, all those things are being devolved, and the urban local bodies are unable to survive from these. So water bills, electricity bills, all these small professional taxes, all these are being devolved, which the urban local bodies are feeling say very inelastic in the sense like these subjects they are not yielding good amount of money. Then so no share of GST compensation is shared by the states to the urban local bodies, even for the rural local bodies for that matter. Friends, with the oncoming of GST, they abolished octroi, which is local tax, and at the same time most of the states they lost taxation power which otherwise would have been devolved to the local governments as well. And now say you wrote in the constitution that say we have a GST council where the central and state have been representing, so where is local representation in GST council, or so what compensation will you give for the local bodies, or say how the states what formula they should follow to devolve fund in the local bodies. So nothing is being mentioned there. And so the constitution says that you have to establish state finance commission so that proper devolution of funds from the state to the urban local bodies can happen, but only say 15 states have set up the state finance commissions, other states haven't set up at all. So when that is the case, so like the devolution of funds finances will not happen. So these points they are common for both rural and urban local bodies, but we can do it here also. But when you write utility charges, fees and fines, so these are not in Gram Panchayat, they are only in say these bodies. And also you can say like so the states are not allowing the urban local bodies to raise the funds in the share market, stock market, etc., where the state government should give the permission and in turn it should take the permission from the center. So all legal hurdles, so they are say harming the gathering of finances from the urban local body by the urban local bodies. Then functions like just 15% of total activity of a scheme is devolved to the urban local bodies. Say the same scheme I said, say for example, we have MG Narega urban version if it comes. So MG Narega urban version, even the word itself is saying that urban, but out of say 500 activity, the act the program gives only some 100 to 50 activities to the urban local bodies. Most of the activities will be planned, predicted, allocated with the funds by the state and center, and it directly comes with a ready-made. So that is what we call the tied grants. So when the tied grants come, so it is like the center pushes something with that tag, and even the state pushes with its own tag. So this tied grants is once again say issue of finance, and it's also an issue of functionaries, because now we don't have autonomy to do anything. So you can add tied grants also here. One more point. Then even local planning is dominated by Zilla Panchayat. Friends, planning is also an activity, and when planning is an activity, so in a district there will be urban local body as well as the Zilla Panchayat, and the representation of both will be there in the district planning committees. And as India lives in villages, say the Jilla Panchayat will have maximum membership in the district planning committee, and urban local body, which is municipality, which will be having just a meager representation. And in whose way the plan goes, it goes mostly with the say rural local bodies. Yes, and the post like municipal commissioners, then center and state Prabari officers, friends, for the aspirational districts program. So in that, for aspirational districts, say the municipal commissioners or say the central Prabari officers, they are appointed directly from the central government to make sure that these backward districts are being developing. So all these people, so they clog the functioning of the municipalities, and these municipal councillors, corporates, etc., they don't have any work to do. So these people they interfere. The property officers, what they say, they have to follow because they will be senior officers. Yes. So likewise. So when all this happen, so an elected body will not be having anything. Only the officials are running the show. So municipal commissioner is a bureaucrat. Central property officer is a bureaucrat. And where are now the councillors? So where is a mayor? So nowhere. Corporates, nowhere. Then coming to, so these are the things how we have the reluctance. Yes. So some points, so they apply to the rural local bodies also. No issues. We can apply here as well. Then in the conclusion, like Isha Judge Ahluwalia, friends, she died recently, I guess, and so she had provided a very comprehensive report on the urban local bodies. She said that so GST share should be given in the constitution for urban local bodies as well, and also like so any program should come by 50% of activity mapped to the urban local bodies. 50% in the sense, as we discussed, say if 100 activities are there in a program, 50 activities should be for basically the urban local bodies. And then ULB should be given, urban local bodies should be given more autonomy to raise funds in the share market. Like Ahmedabad was the first city to raise a good amount of funds in the share market. So likewise, we should also say raise them. So like this. So these are some of my points. You can give yours as well, but take down some of the say statistics then. Compare and contrast the British and Indian approaches to parliamentary sovereignty. Friends, a very easy question. So, apart from comparison between the constitution, so introduction. Indian system of polity works on the constitutionalism. This word has been come in the prelims also. Constitutionalism is constitution giving you the powers and limitations. Then, well, British system, so that works on parliamentary supremacy. English. So first, no written constitution. There is no written constitution, hence there is no say exhaustive list of powers. There is nothing like union subject, state subject, nothing. So whatever the parliament does is the subject of that. Say now we have some list, and if center enacts a law away from this or out of this, so there will always be question raised on that, but no one is there to question that. No exhaustive powers. So like no exhaustive list of powers. That means the power is very expansive, we can say. Then absence of doctrine of unconstitutionality. So if any law violates the constitution, there is no constitution in the first place. At the same time, there is no one to say that this document is unconstitutional or void. So that is no power of judicial review at all. Yes. So whatever parliament decides is supreme. Hence, the parliamentary supremacy goes. Yes. And here you can give a counter argument saying that although like there is no judicial review or unconstitutionality, but the courts of England, courts of Wales, etc., they can decide the veracity of law on their ethical interpretations, or might be the interpretations on the basis of fair play. So there should be a fair play, a basic ethics should be followed. Yes. So that means like to some extent there is a tweak or there is some break that is applied to the parliament, but however the parliament is completely supreme. In Indian constitution, so we have the constitutional supremacy, and constitution clearly says that Indian parliament has say plenary powers, but only subject to the constitution. That is only with respect to the center's subjects, or only with respect to the concurrent list, or only with respect to the residuary powers, not with respect to state list. Likewise, and if it has to enact a law on the state list, again the terms and conditions followed. And then we have checks and balances, like it functions as per the directions of president. So when president summons a house, only then it should come. When he prorogues, so no meeting thereafter. And all enactments, including constitutional amendments, so they are subject to judicial review. Yes. So now here we can say there is very much of hurdles or breaks which are applied by the constitution, and that is acting as a very effective speed breaker, and hence it is like say Indian constitution comes with constitutional supremacy, and no part of the body politic, that is say legislature, executive, judiciary, are supreme. Yes. So Indian constitution is sovereign and parliament is its subordinate. Yes. So one quote, so you can finish with that. So mostly GD Basu said this, I guess. Okay. Then come to next one. They discuss the role of presiding officers of state legislatures in maintaining order and impartiality in conducting legislative work and in facilitating best democratic practices. Friends, here like most of the argument which you give are equivalent to the Speaker of Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha chairman, but you have to give examples from the state legislature to make sure that how the state legislature is being depicted in the answer. Introduction. Presiding officers have powers similar to Lok Sabha in all matters within the house. Yes. So like what Lok Sabha speaker has, so the same way. And their role, maintaining of order of the house, say suspension of the members if they create din and fury, or might be like say under his permission introduction of a bill occurs, with his permission you have to say raise a question, or with his permission you can say become absent to a house, or if repetitive absence, so he can penalize you. So all those things, say order of the house. Then deciding the money bill, he has the power to decide whether a bill is money bill or not. A very simple one. Then decides on the privileges of the house. So if anybody say violates the privilege, so contempt of privilege, so then the presiding officer, he will take the necessary action. So like in one time, Bihar's uh, presiding officer, or we can say speaker, so he took action on one media person, so for criticizing unnecessarily the Bihar legislative assembly. So likewise, then nodal power in cases of defection, yes, any defection, so he has the power. And appointment of various committees, so ad hoc or maybe permanent committees, just like we have parliamentary committees, there also there can be committees. Then first, say how he should maintain the order. So increased din and fury of the house, that is frequent walkouts or assault on the speaker itself many times, shows that the diminishing stature and power of the president. So mostly the presiding officer, he has to be, and mainly the incumbents, they have to take the power, and when they stand on the house should sit down. And one best example is Arunachal Pradesh. So assembly was held in a private building because at that point of time the removal motion of the presiding officer was under consideration. So the removal motion was under consideration. If the assembly is held, so now the first thing happens is the speaker or the presiding officer will be removed. But the ruling party doesn't want that to happen. So they said like we will hold a secret assembly in a private building and let opposition do not get to know that we have held a session. So that was the famous Nabam Rabia case. So there also, like we can give this as example. Then impartiality, so favoring ruling party in introduction and passage of the bills. So if there is a proper presence of ruling party, only then you introduce, else you are not, or unnecessarily cutting down the request of the opposition party to question something, or might be giving more time for the discussion only to the ruling party members. So all those things. And in 2015 in Uttarakhand, say budget was passed in a voice vote. Friends, nowhere budget will be passed in a voice vote. It should be head counted. But this was one, and on the basis of this, so there was the presidential rule brought for the Uttarakhand government, and that was again an issue in 2015. Then, in case of defection, friends, so in Rajasthan case, Ashok Gehlot versus Sachin Pilot case, so there, so why the speaker, a neutral authority, is approaching the court? So this is what Supreme Court said. So like when the tussle was going on, so speaker is, or the presiding officer is running between pillar to post to seek justice. So why the speaker should do that? So let the parties who are in tussle, let them do. And say delay on the part of Maharashtra speaker to dismiss the Shiv Sena factions. So when there was a faction between Shiv Sena 1 and Shiv Sena 2.0, so all these. So we need not offend anyone. Just write so in crisp what the examples were. So all these they show that, say the speaker, so he should be more powerful than ever. So way ahead. So we will go to the English model, that is once a speaker, always a speaker. Yes. So once a speaker is contesting, so from next time he will be unanimously elected from that constituency. No contestant for him from that constituency. At the same time, when a speaker is appointed, he will resign from the party and he will remain neutral. Then come to next. Say discuss the role of Competition Commission of India in containing the abuse of dominant position by the multinational corporations in India. Refer to the recent cases. So here again, friends, most of the cases they have come in the newspaper. So you can also quote good amount of cases. Introduction with the Competition Commission of India, with the Competition Commission Act, and the role to prevent the practices that harm the competition, then to promote and sustain competition in the markets. So like both are almost the same, healthy competition and curbing of malpractices, then to protect the interests of the consumers and to ensure freedom of trade. So yes, all these are something like a ready-made fact which you can always write from your memory, or if you have read somewhere you can put in. Then recent decisions, some of the very good success stories of Competition Commission of India has been there, like against the Flipkart and Amazon for giving too much of rebates. Yes, so like huge discounts or say huge rebates rebates, enticing offers. So all these. So they said like if you do that, startups will be harmed from that. And one more case, Competition Commission India versus Google. So like Google, what it does in the search engine, so it makes sure that so Google or Google affiliated companies, so they will come on the top. So that was also a case decided by Competition Commission of India. Then against airlines recently, so for the cartelization of air cargo charges, so cartelization means these airlines they fix their own prices and they say that so no one will sell below this price. So when no one sells below, obviously so the customers have to settle for one of the prices which they fix. So cartelization and also cartelization of Ola Uber charges. So both of them they come together and they say that so we will fix the price whichever we want so that so customers will not take the advantage of competition. Then one more judgment against WhatsApp for imposing WhatsApp Pay in the app. So when you open WhatsApp, always WhatsApp Pay comes. Although you are using PhonePe, Google Pay, so they are being forcing to use WhatsApp Pay. Likewise, so some of the cases which you can always write, and these are the success stories. And way ahead. So friends, here the challenges are not as per se, but we can add a bit in word like so due to lack of autonomy and whenever competition commission gives a judgment, so the companies approach the courts of law to seek their rehabilitation. So all those things should be avoided. And at the same time, give an example like say in this case, Amazon and Flipkart case, Karnataka High Court, it gave a free hand for the competition commission to come and investigate the things. Yes, and that is a welcome step. So such things should happen. Then come to next. The Constitution of India is a living instrument with the capabilities of enormous dynamism. It is a constitution made for a progressive society. Illustrate with special reference to the expanding horizons of right to life and personal liberty. Yes. So friends, first part in the so this is a 15-mark question. In the first part of question, you will show how the Constitution is a living document, and then you will speak about the right to life and how that right to life has been making constitution a live document. Yes, first one, introduction. Ambedkar, we never wanted the best but a workable constitution. So workable constitution means that is dynamic and changes as per the needs and aspirations of the society. Then so constitution a dynamic document, like 105th 105 amendments have occurred so far. So that shows like say we are being amending as per the test of the time. Then crucial amendments to fundamental rights, preambles, etc. Yes, say even the fundamental rights which is a basic structure or preamble which is philosophical in nature, even they were amended. So that means like the situation demanded and we went for amendments. And some of the establishments like NCBC, GST councils, etc., were also added because the time demanded. So all this shows that the constitution is not a fossil. Constitution is not a fossil, but it is a coral reef. So that means it is not something which is dead, but something which is evolving. Although it is evolving slowly, but it is evolving. You can use this quote also. Like here, constitution is not a fossil; it is a coral reef. Then right to life, how it is being expanded. So first A.K. Gopalan case, so right to life Supreme Court interpreted like the procedure established by law. This clause means it is more as if a British constitution, like say the proper procedure if an act is following, so then the act is say upright or it is constitutional. And in the next case, in the Menaka Gandhi case, so the same right to life clause, that is procedure established by law, was interpreted as a due process of law. So that means it is not only like the procedure established, so it is also like to some extent, so have the law been enacted with a due process, or is it being ethically enacted, not with a proper procedure, but ethicality is also being involved. So a bit of evolution started from this. All these are simple cases, not so much of say explanation needed in the answer. Just make sure that the procedure established, due process. And then in Olga Telly's case, so that is Bombay payment dwellers case. So in the Bombay payments, so some dwellers were there, some people were staying. So Supreme Court said they also have the right to life, that is right to have a proper shelter. So there It is like any encroachment to the right to life should go with fair play and justice. So ethicality, if the due process law is not specifically or clarifying you about ethicality, this is the ethicality, that is fair play and justice. So this is how, like the clause which was in the constitution, so that got expanded from various Supreme Court cases, and this is equivalent to amendment. So we didn't go with the two-third amendment, but with the Supreme Court's judgment, the creative interpretation is making the constitution dynamic. Yes, and with the creative interpretation, so further the right to life expanded to many things like right to privacy, right to go abroad, all these like say ready-made facts you can give. At the same time, you can also say like the latest Jallikattu case. So although not very latest, so right to life expanded to animals as well. Like when you say right to life is right to dignified existence, so not only human beings, even animals have the life to dignified existence. Yes, Aruna Shanbag, right to euthanasia. And so one more case like Afzal Guru's case. Friends, in case of Afzal Guru, like after him being hanged, so his body was not given to his kith and kin, and the case went on like even after someone dies, so right to life and liberty matters. So the right to life and liberty will be extended even after death, and right to dignified cremation is also a right to life. So likewise, very creative interpretations have come, so you can write them also here. Yes, then come to next. Explain the constitutional perspectives of gender justice with the help of relevant constitutional provisions and case laws. So again, a direct question. Whatever constitution gives about gender justice, we'll put in here. So Due Gilpin Faust. So she was the president of say Harvard. She says like I am not the woman president of Harvard. I am the president of Harvard. So always so like in every stages that gender justice is applicable. Like so it is not a chairman. It is chairperson. So likewise, it is not batsman, batsperson. So like yes, then coming to constitutional provisions. Okay, justice, economic, political, social. In the preamble, we have Article 14 gives about say equality before law. Then Article 15 specifically says affirmative action in favor of women. Then 39 equal rights of livelihood for men and women. That is say equal pay for equal work. Yes, so both men and women should be paid equally. Then Article 42 provides for securing just and human conditions for work and maternity relief. Yes, so always like a human condition should be followed. Then say coming to case laws, friends, various case laws have come for gender justice. So like Shah Bono case, so allowances for a woman after divorce, or Bilkis Bano, the recent case last or before last year, like 5 crores of compensation, the highest compensation given. So then abolition of triple talaq, Vishaka guidelines, all these cases you will already write. I did not explain them. So I think a very simple and easy question. And lastly, yatra naryastu ramante pujante tatra samantra devataha. So that say one quote we can conclude. So wherever women are being worshipped, so there lies the god. Then come to next, say 13. Account for the legal and political factors responsible for reduced frequency of using Article 356 by government since 1990s. So after 1990s, why the presidential rules got reduced? So give as many arguments as possible. So Article 356, so which was expected to be a dead letter, is most used, misused, and abused letter. So in that case, we effectively defied. So Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Then misused. So like how it was being misused, like the very first the imposition of presidential rule against Kerala EMS Namboodiripad government, and then rivalry between Congress and Janata government, like Bihar 8 times, so UP 8 times, Manipur 10 times. So every time when the government changes, so imposition of presidential rule came. Then reason for the decrease. So here starts your original body. So during 1990s, we were undergoing the coalition era of governance. So there, the government was busy in saving its own chair. So now, why they will look into the states? Yes, say Devagoda, I.K. Gujral, all these leaders. So they were busy in holding their own chair. Forget about say looking into the states. Then rise of regional parties. So like say one basic opportunity to impose presidential rule was hung assembly when there is lack of proper majority in the assemblies, but due to strong regional parties, so this problem ended, and these regional parties they got absolute majority where there was not at all a chance. So unless and until someone has to impose forcibly, so there was not at all a chance to impose presidential rule. Example, Biju Janata Dal 5 terms and BJP had ruled. So although BJP it is the local head who have ruled, so Chhattisgarh, Raman Singh government, so 4 terms, Gujarat, so fifth term, I guess. So like this. Then in Tamil Nadu, DMK, EIA, DMK, so alternatives. So likewise, regional parties. So they took the rule, and now it is like these chances of emergency. Then came the role of Supreme Court judgments. So SR Bommai case. So federalism, the basic structure. At the same time, floor test should be mandatory. So when you are checking the majority of a government in a house, so floor test is the one which you can. So the governor should satisfy only with the floor test. So his document of satisfaction to impose Article 356 should not be without this, and the governor's decision should be subject to judicial review. So this also toned down the activism of governor. Then Rameshwar Prasad case. So like if there is a hung assembly, so what are the procedure governor should follow? He should not follow his own whims and fancies. He should make sure that say first option should be given to the pre-poll alliance and then to the post-poll alliance. If nothing of that works, so then you can go for say imposing presidential rule, or you can keep the assembly in suspended animation. So all those rules have been given. Then came the active presidents, K.R. Narayanan and Abdul Kalam. So whenever the Article 356 was imposed due to political matters, and when the president was not satisfied with the reason, they sent back the bill. So when they sent back, overall the nation debated on the bill, and that embarrassed the governments, and that resulted in taking back or withdrawing the bills. So that was again a reason. Then in the current decade, so most of the states are ruled by the ruling party like BJP, Modi government, or during Manmohan Singh, the Congress coalition ruled. So when most of the states are ruled by the same government, so least chances of imposing the Article 356. Say for example, Manipur. So a very heinous haste happened recently in Manipur, but no presidential rule was imposed because say same Biren Singh government belongs to BJP. Then complaints to Sarkaria Commission and Punchi Commission's recommendations, like although not in letter and spirit, to some extent, say both the recommendations were maintained, at least some cooling off period were given for the governors, and hyperactive governors were removed or they were transferred. So in some cases, we can see Puducherry governor, former governor, so was transferred, or might be like the former, say, Gujarat chief minister was given some cooling off period before she was made governor. So all these things happened. Yes, then. So these are some of the reasons. You can give as many as possible. Then explain the significance of 101st Constitutional Amendment Act. To what extent? So it is having it is accommodating the spirit of federalism. So 101st with respect to GST, then upholding federalism. How the GST amendment is upholding federalism and how it is against federalism. So the question is to what extent is being asked to give both the sides of argument. First one, the very enactment indicated a sense of cooperation between central and state, that is the true say manifestation of federalism, and here the states renouncing their taxation power, so for the sake of nation. Yes, so nation first, we next. Then states agreed for 2/3 representation in the council and 1/3 was given to the center. Yes, and GST compensation was also settled peacefully. So like center said that we are going to compensate, so effectively if there is any loss if you incur, and the states they were safe, they agreed to that, they accepted the deal. Then ease of taxation and harmonization, friends. So this ease of taxation and harmonization also came with the compromise. Say for example, you have say sales tax or entertainment tax. So that is 18% in West Bengal and 9% in Odisha. So this got harmonized. So now it is like, so neither Odisha nor West Bengal government can impose any tax. So that is decided in the GST Council. If GST Council says, like, say, one commodity movie should be taxed for 10%, so both of them should do the same. So now tax got harmonized. So now both of them will have the 10%. Not only both, throughout the nation it is 10% only. Harmonization of taxes. So that made sure like all states are equal. So no one is above, no one is below. Yes. Then we have the dual structure of taxation. There is central GST separate and state GST separate. So this is again a compromise between central and state and against federalism. So central will have upper hand as states two-third representation will not speak in one voice. Yes. So although two-thirds representation is there, but the thing is like, say, everyone will be having their own voice, and all obviously BJP rule states, so they will have to support the ruling party, and Congress rule states they have to support opposition. So there is no other choice. Like, then states lose the power of incentivization and attracting investments. Say for example, here we spoke about, say, the harmonization of taxes, and earlier what used to happen, Odisha government used to reduce taxes and attract investments. So they used to say like, if you come here, so your state excise duties would be less, and now this would become a manufacturing hub. But now it is not possible. So they have to impose 10% fixed by the government. The tax incentivization is lost. So hardworking states will be harmed by this. Then single GST invoice for interstate trade and transactions. And here, like when you move from one state to another state, so it is like we have same invoice. So to one extent, we are harmonizing the things, but at the same time, so when some state is always selling and the other state is always purchasing, so this hampers the producing state. Or so which state should gather the maximum share? Here both of them are getting the same share which the center gives. So again here, so overall the producing states or the growing states, so they are being disincentivized. Yes. And also the GST compensation delay during COVID-19 and the tussle between center and state, so which we saw in the famous 12th GST Council or infamous 12th GST Council we can say. Then lastly, however, it has resulted in a giant leap of ease of doing business ranking. So we move to the top 50s, so which is again a good step. So likewise, so whatever, whether federalism supported or not, but for the nation it was good. So we can conclude likewise. Then explain the structure of parliamentary committee system. How far have the financial committees helped in the institutionalization of Indian Parliament? So here, so parliamentary committees, they are like a safety valve, just like the Indian National Congress was for the British. Like if opposition wants to speak something rather than direct confrontation, they can speak more formally through the committees, give a recommendation. Yes. So the structure. So we can draw the structure like, so we have the standing committees first, and in those standing committees we have the financial committees, then department related standing committees, and then comes the ad hoc committees. Okay. And so these are also joint parliamentary committees. So most of the standing committees are joint parliamentary committees. Then financial committees. So after structuring, we have three important financial committees: Public Accounts Committee, Estimates Committee, and Committee on Public Sector Undertakings. So first, Public Accounts Committee. So under Public Accounts Committee, so what are the advantages and disadvantages? So how far is the question? We have to speak both the cases. So first, it is like the advantages. Public Accounts Committee scrutinizes the CAG's report and makes sure that the expenditure of the government is on the basis of legal proprietorship, like legally proper it is, or maybe even ethically proper. Okay. And so just because there is a deterrence that Public Accounts Committee is reading the CAG report, so CAG report will be taken seriously by the parliament, so that we can. At the same time, negative, out of 15,000 paragraphs which CAG gives in the CAG report, only 15 paragraphs will be read by the Public Accounts Committee. Lack of expertise will make sure that even if they read, so they don't get to know every nuances whatever mentioned in the Public Accounts Committee. Then Estimates Committee. So Estimates Committee will be active throughout the year. So if I take the budgeting session, so this is the budgeting session, like, so your budget starts, and so financial year and the budget starts. So this is the February 1st when the budget starts, and the budget session finishes by April. Okay. So now in the February 1st, the previous year's audit report comes. So when the audit report comes, your Public Accounts Committee will be active only during this period, but Estimates Committee will be active throughout the budget session. Say before the budget is being set up, the Finance Ministry asks every department to give their estimates. Okay, Railway Ministry, give me your estimates. So Railway Minister says, I want 3 lakh estimate for the next year. So from the time Railway Ministry sends the estimates, so from that very time, Estimates Committee will be active. So one advantage of Estimates Committee is active throughout the year. And second, unlike Public Accounts Committee, it is not post-mortem. So it can stop an expenditure if it wants to. It can stop some profligate expenditure, unwanted expenditure if it wants to. But Public Accounts Committee mostly does a post-mortem work. So only it will review once the death is over. It cannot stop future murders. Yes, and one important judgment or recommendation Estimates Committee gave was the separation between CGA and CAG. That is, separation between Comptroller Auditor General and Comptroller General of Accounts. Yes, so these ones. And negatives again, the lack of expertise, and at the same time, the reports of Estimates Committee are not taken seriously in the Parliament, and no action taken report given. So all these negatives you can write for all of them, like lack of, say, autonomy or lack of constitutional status is resulting in negligence. Yes, so many times when these committees they call the officials will not attend. So many times Public Accounts Committee has called, say, the Finance Secretary, so they won't come. So likewise, so lack of power. Then coming to Committee on Public Sector Undertakings. So here, so one advantage is like, so there is a check on the account books, and this committee makes sure that government will not draw away all the exchequers and empty them in the public sector undertakings. So it will make sure that some autonomy of PSUs are being maintained. But however, coming to the negatives, say in the era of PPP, in the era of disinvestment, so CAG is not having the power to audit those companies which have been divested completely, that is strategic divestment or PPP projects. So no audit, or some public corporations like ONGC, etc. These corporations, they have been set up by the Independent Act. So CAG cannot audit some of these corporations. So these account books are also not available to public sector committee to public sector undertakings. So now this committee can only look into those government companies which are under departmental control. So only under departmental control it can look into. Otherwise, so here it cannot look into PPP, it cannot look into public corporations, it cannot look into divested companies. So that is again a drawback here. Too much of PPP is hampering the functioning of the Committee on PSUs. At the same time, so you can also write lack of expertise or lack of importance in the Parliament, lack of respect amongst the officials, etc. Then lastly, efforts to make all these committees, okay, so a constitutional body should be a step in the right direction. So there was a clamor that Public Accounts Committee should be made a constitutional body, because CAG is already a constitutional body, and CAG will give the report to PSC, which is a non-constitutional body. So to that extent, PSC will lose its significance. So that should not happen. So we have to make sure that, say, every body should be made constitutional in nature. Yes. So these are some of the questions. I have brought some of my points. So make sure that, say, you will note them down, make short notes of them, revise it, and put in your answers, because questions keep on, say, revolving. Parliamentary committees question had come last year also. So likewise, and some of the points will be applicable, say for all the questions, all the times. So such points, let them be in the buffer of your brain. All the very best from my side. Good luck, friend.